The last week has been very interesting with a clip resurfacing from last July in Baltimore where Marvin Sapp goes to a congregation and asks people to give money. But he says something very controversial.
And they understand the cost that is involved. There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors.
And again, remember, this actually happened last year, July 2024, but it is catching steam today. And people are still very upset. And the majority of people that have been making videos about this, in my honest opinion, or commentary on the internet, is black men. And of course, I have been specializing in African-American male content for the last decade. So I understand why black men are the way they are when it comes to the black church. But somebody who I didn't expect to break down the issues that black men have with the black church actually did a pretty interesting sermon on this particular topic. It is none other than the BBL loving pastor, Jamal Harrison Bryant. Jamal Harrison Bryant preached a sermon called "What's the Matter with Marvin Sapp?" And he came at this particular sermon from an angle as to why black men are disgruntled with church.
At George Fox University was staggering and alarming. According to the work done in his dissertation, 80% of black men, hear this, 80% of black men don't attend church or watch it online. And these numbers are not only alarming, they are revealing, because according to this report, most black men believe in a higher power. So most black men believe in God, watch this, but don't prioritize going to church. This is an important distinction. So we do not have in our community a God problem. We have a church problem. Because black men and black people overwhelmingly believe in God more than anybody else in the country.
Now, he talks about a study from a college in which he found out that black men believe in God just as much as black women are in similar rates. And they do understand or believe in a higher power. However, black men are less likely to participate in the black church. And that is why you have 80% black women in the church and black men are nowhere to be found. But wait, there's more.
The point here is not even, Charlie, a problem of faith. It's how that faith is represented and communicated through a particular institution. Something is off kilter if the mosque is 80% men, but the church is 80% women. It is important to know that we are in an information age, but the black church in large measure does not have information, it has inspiration. We have exchanged Bible study for midweek service. So it is not that black men don't want to learn, we're not giving them the tools. So your son and your nephew and your brother will watch for hours information from the Hebrew Israelites on YouTube, but they cannot find a place in the black church. We have reduced the role of black men in the church to be security or to be a deacon over 60. But since it is a church problem, we have to convince black men of the value of church because they already know the value of God. And the problem is, whenever it is that black men come to church, we talk to them like they're atheists. It is not that they do not believe. They just don't see where they fit.
Now, in this instance, he talks about the lack of value that the black church has put on the black man, and the black man does not see himself there at all. He said, most black men are relegated to security or being security guards at the black church or a 60-year-old deacon if they're not the pastor, and their issues are not relevant in the black church. But he also talks about this.
What has happened over the last 5 days with the viral video of Bishop Marvin Sapp, who was not on record preaching at his own church, who was not collecting an offering for himself. But it was a year ago at a PAW convention. It is my responsibility as a public theologian to do an autopsy on what was the trigger that pulled us in this precarious predicament to allow the black church to go viral. At its core, you can't believe it was over $20. As rational and thinking people, you couldn't have been offended at the skyrocketing price of $40,000. The overwhelming commentary was not from women. The overwhelming commentary was from men who gave the reoccurring refrain, see, this is why I don't go to church. And not going to church was not about $20. It was, watch this, on just one line, shut the door.
His value proposition here is the issue that was brought up is that black men were not mad about $20. They were not mad about $40,000. They looked at the incident as lock the door or close the door as something to say you must give, and antics like this is why I don't go to church. Give him a round of applause. And Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant and other people are starting to come to the terms of why black men are looking towards Islam. And he talked about how so many black men are becoming radical, even mentioning Hebrew Israelites. And that is very, very popular, believe it or not. I'm in the pro-black community, the Pan-African community, and the Hebrew Israelites definitely is more appealing for some black men than the black church. They have very similar biblical principles. It's something they understand, and there's more masculinity involved with the Hebrew Israelites, whether you agree with it or not. But the reality that black men have with the black church is not necessarily church itself, or that there's so many women in the church, or that the black church is feminine with a lot of dudes that might be in the LGBTQ. Those are small reasons, but there's always been gay men in the black church, and there's always been preachers who made mistakes in the black church, and there's always been some level of begging. The reality is that the black church has been a place where heterosexual black men have been attacked. Their masculinity has been attacked. If you don't believe me, ask Jamal Harrison Bryant. Their voting decisions, why they want to go to Donald Trump. And there is no actual accountability for those things, but trying to put women over men. And then when you want to know why the black men don't want to come to church, all of a sudden it's a church problem. It's not a God problem. But you never want to take accountability for how you have mistreated black men in the black church. And then you have a pastor like Jamal Harrison Bryant. Let me make it about him. I'm not trying to make an ad hominem, but I would like to use him for an example, or other pastors for an example. You're telling the black man that he ought to be faithful. He ought to treat his wife good and love his wife. Then at the same time, he brings his wife to the black church, and there you have Jamal Harrison Bryant, or a preacher like him, who is very likely to sleep with his wife and to tell his wife how she's supposed to behave with her husband. In other words, Jamal Harrison Bryant is running his household instead of the pastor telling the wife that you need to listen to your husband because he is your leader. I am not your leader. But Jamal Harrison Bryant and many other preachers in the black church do not look at it this way. They don't have a problem with sleeping with your wife or with your daughter, at the same time humiliating you for being a deadbeat dad, while at the same time they're a deadbeat dad, and they are not willing to hold anybody accountable, not themselves, not the women in the church, but they damn sure can hold black men accountable at every chance they get. Then turn around and make an elaborate sermon about, you know what? It's not a God problem, it's a church problem. No, it's a you problem, because you don't care. And that's what happens when you don't care. When you alienate your men and your men are tired of you, and this is exactly what is happening in Black America. Black men are tired of the Black community, all right? I'm not gonna say they're tired of Black women. I won't say they don't love Black women. I won't say they don't love certain elements of the community, but they don't fit in because there are no rules there. The rules only favor sisters and baby mamas and whatever they do, and only castigating them. So why would you deal with that? That's why you see so many black men trying to go the interracial dating route. Are so many black men becoming passport bros? Are so many black men going to the Republican Party? It's the same issue. And the black church guys just don't get it. They look for any reason to double down on the reality of castigating these guys instead of just saying, we made a mistake, black men. We are sorry. The only way that we can allow this to work is to say, hey, women, listen, these men do not want to be led by you. They are men. Their biology is to be leaders, not to be followers. That's why you see these brothers going to the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam. You can say whatever you want to say about the Nation of Islam. It's never going to relegate a woman over a man. It's going to put a man as a provider, a leader, and give him the opportunity, execute everything in the biology that God gave him. It's the same thing with Sunni Islam or Shiite Islam or any other radical group that you may call in the Hebrew Israelite community or other some form of Christianity that give men the opportunity to be men. And Jamal Harrison Bryant, in my honest opinion, is coming to that realization. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. All right, appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.